Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by uppercutchops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural dry-aged USDA prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at uppercutchops.com. That's uppercutchops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for uppercutchops.com. An astounding round of applause for uppercutchops.com. Can't beat that, folks. All right, welcome in, everybody, on TV, radio, streaming, wherever you're at in this world. If you could be on the Mars rover or any of the other four corners of this earth, for all you flat earthers out there. All right, welcome into the circus, and it's a circus, and we prove it every day. Listen, folks, we have something that is not pleasant at all to start this with. And that deals with, first of all, it's usually the four-letter network for me, but this one gets even worse because it is Hall of Fame tight end and ESPN analyst Shannon Sharpe is accused of rape and sexual assault. Oh, boy. Now the hits keep coming for those guys, I tell you. A $50 million proposed lawsuit as reported by Chris Swick, contributing writer from Yahoo. We got to make sure that we give credit to the people that we're supposed to give credit to. But how about this one? Content warning. This article contains depictions of alleged sexual assaults. So as Chris writes, Hall of Fame tight end and ESPN personality Shannon Sharpe was accused of sexual assault and battery in a lawsuit filed recently, according to Pro Football Talk and USA Today. The woman filed a lawsuit under the alias of Jane Doe. In it, Sharpe, who is 56 years of age, is accused of sexually assaulting a woman multiple times over a 2-year, quote, rocky, consensual relationship, close quote. Pro Football Talk and People had reported, People magazine that is. The woman is seeking $50 million in damages. Show me the money! Now, the woman claims she met Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe. I want to make sure it was the right one. Shannon Sharpe in a Los Angeles gym just a couple of years ago. She was 22 at the time. She claimed that Sharpe made multiple advances before she decided to engage in a relationship. And Sharpe reportedly asked the woman to sign a non-disclosure agreement before they met up, but dropped that when the woman pushed back on the request, per People. How do you like that? Now, of course, a lawsuit details multiple instances in which Sharpe is accused of threats and sexual assault. And the woman also claimed that Sharpe recorded their sexual encounters without her consent, according to People, once again. How do you like them apples? Mercy. Now, the complaint states, quote, a woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no, even once, that no means no. A man who is accustomed to getting what he wants completely fails to understand this basic concept. Close quote. That's what the complaint actually stated. Now, Sharp is also accused of berating the woman and threatening to kill her after she arrived late at his house one day. Now, both Sharp and the woman moved to Nevada separately a year ago. In September of 2024, Sharp accidentally live streamed a sexual encounter with an unidentified woman. The camera did not capture the encounter, but audio could be heard. And Sharp initially claimed he was hacked before admitting he accidentally left his camera on during the encounter in the first place. Come on. So people are supposed to believe that? I guess. I don't know. Anyway, a month later, or better yet, the woman involved in the live stream is not the woman suing Sharp. In fact, the incident caused Jane Doe to pull away from Sharp. And a month later, Sharp allegedly forced Doe into the car and forced her into her apartment. And once there, the woman claimed Sharp forced her to perform oral sex and then anally raped her. What in the world? Ah, boy. They're really finding some good ones now, aren't they, folks? Not. All right, so moving on with this ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous behavior. It's like you almost don't even want to, you don't even want to understand it in the first place. You can't understand it. I mean, you know what you're reading, you know what you're hearing, but you're scratching your head like, people actually do this? I don't even understand that. And so as we move forward here, the woman also detailed a January encounter in which she claimed Shannon Sharp sexually assaulted her while refusing to wear a condom. And the woman is being represented by a particular attorney, which we are not going to plug because there's no reason to. But this is also the same attorney who also represented multiple women who accused Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct. Now, I wasn't there at any of these, but I guess a lot of people came forward and sang the same song. Now, either that was one gigantic conspiracy, so to say, or concerted effort. I don't even know what that means. But it sure seems to me that the women that went after Deshaun Watson, they may or may not have had an argument. I don't even know. All I know is there was a lot of money paid. And usually, folks, this is my opinion, when money is paid in a lawsuit, that means one side admits guilt, typically speaking, that is. Now, I don't know. It's my opinion. I do have a legal background, but I will tell you that usually when there's a payoff, as I see it, something is saying, well, wait a minute. Why is there a payoff going on? Why do we have money changing hands? Usually offer, acceptance, consideration, and payoff. We think of the actual notion of a contract, a meeting of the minds, offer, acceptance, and consideration. The elements are there for a contract. So if there is offer, acceptance, a meeting of the minds, and consideration being the payoff, did it actually happen? So for those that don't know, that is a basic legal platform. It's a basic legal, we'll call it benchmark, right, for a contract to be made. Now, the question is, with these sexual assault cases and the Deshaun Watson situation, money was paid. Was there an admission of guilt, or was it a contract to just be quiet and go away? Now, remember, this particular woman with the Shannon Sharp situation is represented by that same attorney that represented the women against Deshaun Watson. What are we really talking about here? Now, look, we know Sharp played for the Broncos and the Ravens 14 years, won some Super Bowls, made some Pro Bowls and All Pros and all that other fun stuff. So he was a good player. But what about off the field? What about off the field? What about that show he's doing on the Four-Letter Network? I won't even say the name, some alleged podcast. In other words, blasted podcast. Folks, listen, stop doing podcasts. Really. You're not a star unless you're actually on TV or on radio, or if you're in the top 1% of 1%. If you're the Joe Rogans of the world, whatever, yes, Joe Rogan, I tip my hat to you because you are a bona fide podcast star. Who's making lots of money. But, people think, well, geez, Joe, you don't know what you're doing. You haven't been doing this for long. Really? I think Joe Rogan, as I understand, has been doing it for many, many years. and he's got himself one hell of a background. But listen, stop doing these blasted podcasts and do a real radio or TV show. Seriously, it is what it is. And so Shannon Sharpe has a podcast that he does also in addition to his show on the Four Letter Network. I wonder how that's going to affect the money of it. I wonder if that's going to drop sponsorships. I wonder if that's actually going to be taken off the air. Who the hell knows? That's my best guess. That's going to probably go away because ESPN is a Disney company as I understand it. And I don't necessarily believe that they would want something like that. But then again, that's my opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion, just like you are. You may think I'm full of beans, but folks, this is a real story about Shannon Sharpe and somebody bringing action in the court about sexual assault and rape and all these other horrible things. And I'm just wondering, why is it that people in visible situations, either A, they're targeted for that, maybe because of... Show me the money! Maybe it's because of money, or maybe it's because that those people may feel that they can get away with whatever the hell they want to because I'm so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. And you could go ahead and bring a suit towards me and you're not going to beat it and all this other garbage. Listen, folks, nobody's above the law. And so ultimately, guilty or not guilty, this guy's got a little bit of baggage to deal with, and I wonder what's going to happen with his programming. Who the hell knows right now? I'll tell you what I do know. We're going to break. We're going to be back here in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out, folks. Yes! They've been with us since the very beginning. Way back in 2016 when we started this show. 2,200 odd episodes ago. Can't believe we've been doing this that long. It's a really long time. And guess what, folks? We used to do 2 hours a day on air, and we would blow through the 2 hours a day, too. That was back in the days on KMZQ 670 The Score right here in fabulous Las Vegas. And the show was syndicated at that time, too, as many years ago, starting back in 2017. And tell you what, it's been a fun ride so far, and we're going to keep on trucking. Speaking of fun rides, a lot of people have been talking about this, been talking about the possibility of Sean Payton being one of those trade or draft disruptors. And in many cases, this is just something apparently that there's a little bit of history of, and it's just about building teams. And Sean Payton, a pretty sharp guy, used to be the coach of the New Orleans Saints. Sean Payton from Naperville, Illinois. Of course, Naperville is in suburban Chicago. That's where they used to have the, I think they called it it was the Rib Fest, but there was a very particular name for it. That's the second biggest barbecue in the world, in case you don't know. Anyway, so Sean's been one of those guys, and now some people are starting to wonder about the possibility of trading up. Maybe, I don't know, is it for Ashton Jeanty? I'm not really sure. But anyway, nonetheless, in an unpredictable NFL draft, there's probably one thing we can trust, that Sean Payton will probably not be trading down. So it's hard not to figure out the philosophy, I guess. And I don't know, what's the Denver Broncos coach going to do? Nobody really, as I see it, is more aggressive in the draft. And let's face it, in Payton's final 13 New Orleans Saints drafts, they traded up 22 times and didn't trade down once. That's according to DenverBroncos.com. In fact, in Payton's first Broncos draft, he moved up for each of his first two picks, receiving, of course, Marvin Mims Jr., a very good one, and cornerback Riley Moss, another very good one. Sean Payton's quietly building a very good team over there in Denver. In fact, his second draft, Denver moved up for receiver Tony Franklin, another very good guy. And so he's just really good at the draft game. Some teams are terrible at it, just perpetually. But I have to say that Sean Payton's really doing a good job, and he's done a good job over the years too, playing with the budget that he's had, but he knows how to draft. Now, according to that story on Broncos' website, Payton did trade down, though, 3 times in his first 2 seasons with the Saints. So it was way back in yesteryear. And 2 of those times, the Saints got a veteran player back. So really, it was a win for him. And the Broncos traded back twice in Payton's first 2 drafts with the team itself. So both teams got exactly what they're looking for, possibly a veteran player back, somebody that can play and make an impact today or at that particular moment. So in 17 drafts, Payton's teams have traded back once without acquiring a veteran as a part of a deal, and they have often traded up, giving up future picks for a player that they really want. Now, there have been, well, let's put it this way. There have not been any trades yet in the first round of this draft, as we know. It's amazing that every team still holds its first round pick. That is actually quite amazing, because usually by now there's some kind of trade made. Of course, that's going to change. And Payton's Broncos are as good as a candidate as any others to make a big move. And we know what the Broncos are after in this year's draft, so which makes it kind of interesting. They really need a running back. And there's really just a couple of choices here. Maybe 2 in the draft and maybe 1 out on the market. So there's not much reason for Payton to be kind of shy about what the Broncos need. Everybody knows they need a running back. So they were thin at it last year, and they made no moves to improve in free agency. And let's face it, Javonte Williams is gone, and now he's with the Cowboys. So the Broncos are incredibly unlikely to come out of this draft without a running back, and likely with one that will project as a day 1 starter. So what does that mean? Well, Peyton said through a team's transcript, he said there will be the focus on a running back. It's pretty good draft out there for running backs as well. Now, the Broncos have the 20th pick in the draft, and it's possible that North Carolina's Omarion Hampton falls to them. And he's a pretty good one. And Hampton, again, good player, will fit very well with the Broncos scheme. He's a big kid, too. He's quick. He's strong. He checks a lot of the boxes. However, there's a running back who practically everybody agrees on is a different tier altogether and really that day one starter. And if Peyton sees what practically everyone else sees with Boise State's Ashton Jeanty, who has drawn some comparables to Alvin Kamara, that would be Sean Payton's old running back. Well, let's face it. We know Peyton won't be shy about trading basically up to get this guy because Jeanty is legit. And if you watched him, he set records and all the other stuff, but he's one of those guys with yards after contact. He seems to get better. And you think of the NFL in the running game, there's a lot of contact, but I have to say that Ashton Jeanty is one of those generational type of running backs. So he's a shorter guy, but man, he's just built like a bowling ball or like a wrecking ball, nonetheless. I mean, could the Broncos make a big move for him? I don't know. I mean, the cost to get him is probably going to be pretty high, and everyone seems to believe that he's going to go number 6 to the Raiders. And, of course, as I mention that, this is for you, the Raiders and the Raider fans. Sorry. But the Raiders just what a disaster. An absolute disaster. Being right here in Las Vegas, we see it up close. And yeah, with some changes in ownership and management. I mean, look, I like Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll's one hell of a coach. He's one of the best coaches in the game. I just don't think that the ownership, being Mark Davis, is going to allow Pete Carroll to do really what he needs to do. And I almost think that it's a losing proposition for Pete Carroll to come to Las Vegas. I don't care if Tom Brady's one of the owners of the company. Let's face it. End of day, Tom Brady is only there as a figurehead from a poster boy standpoint. It's not like Tom's making decisions out there. No, this is Mark Davis's team. Tom's only a minority owner. So move on, young man. But anyway, the cost is going to be really high for any team to trade for him. And the Raiders, if they make a deal, the Raiders are going to do well with picks in return. But the Raiders need more than one spot. They need a lot of spots filled. They really do. I mean, look, one AFC team executive told CBS Sports' personnel that Jeanty to the Raiders is a foregone conclusion. So that ship has already sailed technically, and why would the Raiders want to make a deal with a division rival? And, the funny thing about here in Vegas is that Las Vegas for decades has been a Denver Broncos town. Why? Because that's what's always been carried on the television here before the age of all this crazy, this pay service and this pay service over here, or whatever. This has been a Denver Broncos town. And so a lot of Bronco fans are right here in Las Vegas. People say, well, this is Las Vegas, California, and all the Raider fans are here. Well, listen, the people of Las Vegas, generally speaking, did not want the Raiders here at all. And I'm one of them. I did not want the Raiders to come here. And let's face it, even Stan Kroenke did not want the Raiders in his stadium over in L.A., in SoFi Stadium. So they took the Chargers because the Chargers were not the big distraction that the Raiders are, and the Raider fans and the crap that they bring along, and the chaos and mayhem and whatnot. And the Raider fans just bring that particular element. I mean, the one thing they did right when they built the stadium here is they put a jail in there and they put a court inside the stadium as well. That's right. So the one good thing is that you can actually be booked, prosecuted, and shipped right out and processed right out of the stadium and go right to jail, I guess. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the Raider fans and the Raiders themselves, they just have a constant problem. And honestly, folks, this goes back to the death of Al Davis. When Al Davis was in charge of his team, there was a hell of a lot more orders, and the Raiders were a very respectable organization. But I happen to believe that from the death of Al Davis moving forward, the team has just spiraled into not good ownership. And the people here, frankly, generally speaking, don't want the Raiders. They don't like the Raiders. And they don't give a damn what the Raiders do for moves. A lot of people here root against the Raiders, and I'm one of them as well. Sorry, folks, it is what it is. I can't help that. Actually, I can't help it, but I choose not to, if you know what I mean. So moving on here. So look, if the Broncos did make a move to try to pick up Ashton Jeanty, they're going to have to really do something big. But let's assume the first three picks, which seem to be locked in, are Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, aren't available. Now, using common trade values, moving up from number 20 to number 6 is going to cost a future first and another possibly third. That's very expensive, but again, it's Sean Payton. That's the real subject of the story here. And also, Payton has a history of first-round running backs in the first place. And, of course, his Saints picked Reggie Bush, who his Heisman Trophy was restored. And Reggie, boy, I tell you, Reggie was a good one. And Reggie really got the short end of the stick by the NCAA and his university and I think the league and the broadcasters. I hope Reggie gets himself $100 million in lawsuits for all the defamation that I believe that he had to deal with. Nonetheless, so they did pick up Reggie, and then you go back to Mark Ingram in the first, Cameron Jordan then fell to them, blah, 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 and moving on. Look, ultimately Payton said, quote, I think it's all about your vision and your vision for the player. I think there is a feeling oftentimes that there are certain positions that may be more available in the offseason than others, and yet you have to look at the availability, close quote. Now, Jeanty has the ability that few others actually have, and we know the Broncos are likely to move up rather than down in the draft, so we'll see what happens there. Let's see if the Broncos can make a deal for the best running back coming out of college in America. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP Television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, which can be found on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Deezer, all other streaming platforms. And of course, make sure that you check out thesportscircus.com's store. There's a tab right across the top at thesportscircus.com, and it says store, and check out all of our fine American-made products. Lots of good stuff. And hats, t-shirts, sweatpants, coats, pillows, you name it. Sweatshirts, hats, everything, all kinds of cool stuff. A shameless plug for the circus. We have beautiful embroidered hats with our logo on it. And let's face it, folks, we like American-made products in the first place. We don't want to get all of our stuff from overseas, if you know what I mean. Let's push American products. How do you like that, folks? All right. Again, welcome back to everybody. Radio, TV, you know who you are. Oh, big hello to our friends, of course, over in Atlanta, WDJY. Thanks for waking up with us, 99.1 FM. Over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for driving home with us. Of course, same thing with our friends over in Honolulu. Thanks for driving home with us on KHKA, CBS Sports 1500. And that's home of the Yankees, 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Plus everybody else on all of our independents from coast to coast, all of our network affiliates. Thanks for joining us also on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, and WOW Cable and independent affiliates in select markets and hotel TV where applicable. All right, that pretty much covers everybody as I see it. And moving on here, we have these mock drafts out there. There's a ton of them. This one actually is pretty good, but some of the information I don't necessarily agree with. People say, well, the Tennessee Titans are going to take Cam Ward and we'll lock it in and all this other crap. And they say that's their future quarterback. Well, I'm not so sure. And I think that there are other quarterbacks that are better, but what do I know? I'm just another guy out there, just like everybody listening right now. And is Cam Ward the best quarterback in the draft? Some say yes, some say I don't know. People compare him to Steve McNair and da-da-da-da-da. They drop him into a better than you'd think ecosystem or crap like that. But I have to tell you, I don't think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the draft. And frankly, there's not a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft. I think the best one is at Ole Miss and Jackson Dart. But anyway, it doesn't really matter what I think. But you look at these projections and you say, why would Tennessee take a particular quarterback that's number one on their list? But then again, it may not be the best case scenario. I would think there's two or three other quarterbacks that are probably better than Cam Ward. And Cam Ward's attitude and his, I don't know, it seems to be from what I saw. Now, you may have seen the same thing as I saw, but it's a guy that plays when he wants to. He gets up when he wants to. And this is the kid, in my opinion, that will take the ball and go home if things aren't going the way he wants. I personally would not take Cam Ward as the number one pick. There are other guys out there. And then here, you think about the Cleveland Browns. Well, Travis Hunter is technically a foregone conclusion. They say he's one of the best players. They say he's the best player in the draft. And I don't think he's the best. People say, he plays wide receiver corner. Okay, that's fine. But have you checked to see, has Travis Hunter, did he lead the NCAA in any categories except playing two sides of the ball? Did he? Last time I checked, he didn't. So Yahoo Sports said he's the best player in the draft. He goes to a team that desperately needs talent in just about every single way. And Browns general manager Andrew Berry hasn't been shy about his love for Hunter and that his plan would be for him to be a wide receiver first. Whether or not that's the best roster building strategy is another question, but it feels like Hunter is headed to the Cleveland Browns right now. I don't agree with him being the best player. He's maybe in the top 10 in the league. Now I'm saying in all the NCAA, maybe. But he hasn't been even in the top 5 in any categories last time I checked. So is he really the best? And where does he add more value? As a wide receiver or a corner? I'm going to argue as a corner. Think about who's in that division. The Cleveland Browns being in that division with Joe Burrow, who throws a lot of touchdowns, who's arguably the best quarterback in the league right now. So he's in there with Joe Burrow, who throws a ton of those, and also in there with who? Lamar Jackson, who throws a lot of those as well. It would seem to me that Travis Hunter would be better suited as a corner. He could play every down on defense And if they need a third or fourth receiver, maybe on offense, he might be able to slip in there. But he's going to play one side or the other, generally speaking. Now, we've already seen players try to play both sides, and it's really hard to do that. It's taxing, and from a conditioning standpoint, it's just almost not possible. The NFL is a very physical game, although it's not as physical as hockey, if you know what I mean. However, Travis Hunter is a good player, but I think the Browns would be better suited to use him as a corner rather than a wide receiver. Now, moving on, Abdul Carter as one of these defensive ends, but you can call him an edge rusher. Yeah, that's right, an edge rusher. No, it's a defensive end. Let's get it straight. And a lot of the former NFL players say the exact same thing. In fact, that comes from a few of them, and one of our friends, that would be the great Al Bubba Baker, the quarterback breaker and the rib maker. Al even said the same thing. No, they're defensive ends. So apparently, this kid out of Penn State is a pretty good one. And of course, they say you can't have too many pass rushers, especially when you have the opportunity to add someone as talented as Abdul Carter. And Carter can bend and fire off the football and will instantly play impactful snaps as a pass rusher as he adds strength and hones on other aspects of his game. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. But let's think about this. You say, all right, do they need another pass rusher? They've got, as I understand it, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. You've got a few guys already that are doing this. Why would you need yet another one? The Giants seem to make one bad move after another. And that certainly isn't the Giants. Think about it. The Giants are in a division where they do what? They run the ball. What do the Dallas Cowboys do? They like to run the ball. What does the Philadelphia Eagles do? They like to do what? Run the ball. And guess what? Even the Commanders, of course I want to call them the Redskins, they throw the ball, but they have the ability to do what? To run the ball. So why would you go after a defensive end when you already have guys that rush the passer really good? Why would you do that? I don't know. I don't understand it. So the Giants, their train of thought, as I understand it, or as I see it, as I read it, as I comprehend it, why would you keep stacking up on guys that are going to charge after the quarterback when you could see holes opening up in the A or B gap from all that pass rushing, and the other teams are going to be running the ball right down your throat? That doesn't make a lot of sense, New York Football Giants. Better yet, we should call you the New Jersey Giants. That's right. I think so. Anyway, moving on. The Patriots, the New England Patriots, are slated to take Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU. That seems to be a pretty good one. And look, those guys are in need of somebody to protect their young quarterback. The Jags are projected at number 5 to take Ashton Jeanty. So maybe it is Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos making a deal with the Jaguars to move up to number 5, because you sure as hell aren't going to be able to shake that pick loose from the Raiders. So the Raiders will fall back to 6 and probably take Membu, an offensive tackle out of Missouri. Now, that may make a little bit more sense. Now, the New York Airplanes, but you can call them the Jets, really are the New Jersey Jets. They're slated to take Tyler Warren, potentially, out of Penn State, and a big tight end. Penn State really produces big tight ends and linebackers. I mean, Penn State just has that kind of player, gritty, grindy type players. And is this really what they need? I don't know. The Jets' tight end room in recent years has been a big disaster. It's been a dumpster fire. Injury here, ineffective here. And will Tyler Warren really be able to make that impact? An upgrade? I don't really know. That one is really up in the air. How about Carolina? They seemed to do pretty well last year, and Bryce certainly got his act together. It's like he reinvented himself at the quarterback position, and he may be that guy that was drafted a couple, 3 years ago. So the Panthers, do they really need a pass rusher? Probably. Front seven talent in general, yeah, which makes Jalen Walker out of Georgia a fairly solid pick. I'm going to say okay with that. And how about the Saints needing a quarterback? And they're targeting, as we understand it, Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. And this is a big kid. He started out at USC. He's a big kid that can do what? He could throw out of the pocket. He can roll a little bit, but he is a prototypical quarterback. Kind of like we look at Bo Nix. Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos is a prototypical quarterback, And he's not the guy that's going to roll out and get 20 yards here, 10 yards here, 8 yards here, 12 yards here. Jackson Dart is a big boy. He's kind of like an Allen out of Buffalo. He's one of those guys, a big boy. And so I really think that the Saints are on the right track here. He's got a really interesting toolbox, and he's going to need a little bit of time to adjust, a little more consistency. But Kellen Moore is going to get this kid going. And honestly, with Derek Carr potentially missing the season with an injury, they've got nothing but time to get this kid into game shape. And then we'll talk about the Bears real quick before we go to break. The Bears needing what? Offensive tackles, offensive guards. They got to protect the quarterback. So they have revamped their interior offensive line very well, but still have a hole at left tackle. Now, that's important on the left side when you've got a right-handed quarterback. So you got an issue, and maybe they could find that during the draft. Who knows? Or maybe they can move some players around. So enter Calvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. He could be the guy getting that left tackle gig. You never know, folks. Back here with the draft in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA. The only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, again, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, prior guests, and those previously recorded shows. There's thousands of them there for you to listen to. And also, make sure you check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. One of those is Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't get over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. And you can read all about how the Italian beef sandwich came to, I'll tell you what, 100 years ago. Yes, 100 years ago. These are the creators of the famous Italian beef sandwich, which is, if all of you people that have not had it, you have heard of the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. Of course, that particular sandwich is basically just fried, low-grade meat on a flat top, throwing some onions in there, slap it on a bun, put some cheese whiz on it, and serve it to somebody with maybe a Pepto-Bismol or two. However, you try that Italian beef sandwich, it takes 20-odd hours to actually make it, slow-cooked. Boy, is it good. It's nothing like you've had before. If you've never had one, folks, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Al's Beef is the creator of the Italian beef sandwich. Check that out again, alsbeef.com, and tell them the circus sent you. Of course, that always deserves the super applause. One of my favorites. Growing up with it. It is what it is, folks. All right, welcome back, everybody. I know you are, TV and radio. Continuing on with this projected draft from the NFL. Left off with the Chicago Bears and Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. Big offensive tackle or guard on the left side. They need somebody to protect Caleb Williams from the left side. That may be a choice. I really think they're going to move one of the veterans over to the left side and bring in somebody else on the right side, because at least he could see what's in front of him that way. Anyway, moving on to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, it has been projected that Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, may be the guy to go over there. And then, look, the trenches have to be a really big deal in the Bay Area right now. Look, San Francisco is going through some weird times as far as their player personnel. And whether it's on offense or defense, I mean, things are really looking a little dicey over there. I mean, a couple of years ago, geez, things you think that they were building a dynasty or at least something that could turn into one. Right now, it seems like they're in transition. So the 49ers really need to shore up the middle of their defensive line also with maybe a guy like Graham, you never know, who falls right into their laps, and in this particular case, at number 11. And it probably would help the spine of that defense, of course, and it will help keep Fred Warner clean and make everyone's life a little bit easier. How about the Cowboys? Another team seeming always to be in transition. They are projected potentially to take Matthew Golden, a wide receiver, a local guy out of University of Texas, Austin. Well, we'll say Austin is close enough as far as local goes, even though politically speaking, Austin and Dallas couldn't get any further apart. Nonetheless, Dallas gets a home run threat to pair with the steadiness of CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. I don't know about Dak Prescott being steady. Maybe be steadily terrible. I don't really know. But Golden's one of the fastest players in the draft who rode an incredible ride through college football playoffs. And this guy is a bona fide first rounder. And let's face it, Jerry's got enough money, being Jerry Jones, to basically get whatever he wants. But he hasn't exactly really hidden how much he's like oogling over this kid. So it would seem reasonable that the Dallas Cowboys take a guy that's used to playing football on a big stage in Texas and used to the big crowds, used to the big hype, the big excitement and everything. So that seems to be a pretty good fit. I mean, the guy had 8 touchdowns last season in the college football season, which is pretty good. And his numbers were 738 in the yards, 47 recepts out of 68 targets. So he caught basically 2/3 of everything that was thrown to him. And some you can help, some you cannot help. So actually, Matthew Golden may make a lot of sense for the Dallas Cowboys. How about the Miami Dolphins with Jaden Barron as their coveted guy, allegedly? Also another guy out of Texas, but this guy's on the defensive side of the ball. And Jalen Ramsey might be on the move, though. So the current Dolphins starting safeties are recently signed free agents with no long-term commitments, and slot defenders. This is another issue. So you got another issue after this season. So who knows if Kohu is going to re-sign with the Miami Dolphins. Here, the same thing. You thought the Dolphins were going to be really moving up. I really expected a lot out of them, but then they had the injury to Tua again, and that was the biggest question mark about Tua coming out of Alabama. Could he stay healthy? And he's had some pretty big injuries, concussion problems, and so forth. So as Tua goes is how the Miami Dolphins go. And unfortunately, when he was gone last season, they lost a lot of games. I think they lost 6 games and basically took themselves right out of contention. Nonetheless, they're going to have to shore it up on the defensive side because about the Jalen Ramsey issue, I'll tell you what, these guys really need to do a little bit of work. How about the Colts at number 14? Will they take a corner as well? This one out of Michigan, Will Johnson. And look, honestly, Johnson would have gone much higher if he didn't have that injury-plagued season. And that is a real big problem. So, I mean, look, at his best, he's truly a dominant quarterback. And that's someone that the Colts defense really needs. And he's actually a pretty damn good fit, too. So I just think that he is going to be locked in potentially to those Indianapolis Colts, or maybe the Colts, if they have to trade up for him, they will. I mean, shoot, they could even trade down and make a deal, possibly, because, look, Atlanta's going to be looking for an edge rusher, and Arizona's going to be looking for another edge rusher as well, defensive lineman. And so technically they could trade down past 15, past 16, and even past 17, because the Bengals are probably going to be looking for a defensive tackle as well. They could probably trade all the way down to probably right around 18 and still get their guy and take back a haul, maybe at least a draft pick that makes another second, third, fourth round pick, plus still get their guy of who they're looking for in Will Johnson. So Atlanta, like I had mentioned, they're looking for a defensive end, and they're possibly targeting this Mike Green out of Marshall. But the Falcons really need someone to sack the quarterback because they just give up way too much. They're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, and there is a real big problem. Look, you can stop the run, but you got to get pressure on the quarterback. And you think about the fast style of play that Mike Green has out of Marshall. I mean, when you say thundering herd, this kid is the thundering herd. Look, it doesn't get much more complicated than this. Atlanta needs that. Look for them to pick up a defensive end. Same thing with the Cardinals. They need the same exact thing. Look, they've got some really good defenders, and they've got a really interesting mix of players. But you ask, is Michael Williams their guy? Look, he plays at a very fast rate. He's also a very good run defender. So could the Cardinals use that? Probably, because will Christian McCaffrey be healthy in the NFC West? And the Cardinals, can they stop him? That's the bigger question. Who knows what's going to happen there, but the Cardinals are going to go defense. The Bengals, they need a little bit of defensive work. Looking at Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon. He seems to be a pretty good fit. He's a big boy. And look, Harmon will make a living by eating up all those blocks in the interior for the run game, so he really fits. Now, Seattle, another issue, but they are more focused on offensive line, and they just spent a bunch of money on their quarterback. And so you ask, is this going to be the best case scenario? Gray Zabel, possibly from North Dakota State, may be the guy. And there's a lot of great players that come out of North Dakota State, and they're playing in the NFL. I think there's 40 or 50 of them. But ultimately, that's historically, that's what they put into the National Football League. So Gray Zabel may be the guy. He's a great fit with Clint Kubiak's offense, and he just may be that protector from the left or the right side. You never know. You can really play him anywhere. It's like a Swiss Army knife. Now, the Bucs are probably looking at a linebacker as well. There's a lot of guys that are needing, or a lot of teams that are needing defense. And so Jihad Campbell out of Alabama may be the guy for the Bucs. And the Bucs are a team that I believe are still staying steady. It doesn't matter whether they have this guy or that guy at quarterback, but the Bucs defense, we had Larry on the show, and Larry is their defensive coordinator, their current guy. And so this guy, he knows what he's doing. He is a very good defensive coordinator, and I have to say that I think he's doing a great job, and Todd Bowles is letting him do what he needs to do on defense. So watch and see if Jihad Campbell is a good fit from Alabama for the Tampa Bay Bucs. Now, we've already talked about the Broncos and looking after possibly Ashton Jeanty, but at worst case scenario, it could be Omarion Hampton. Again, a big bruising running back, and also a I think he is a quarterback protector as well. So this kid, even if they have to fall down to number 20 and take Omarion Hampton, it's not a loss because the guy's good. Now, will the Steelers at 21 take Jalen Milroe? Milroe is a big quarterback. He is a really big guy, but he's kind of like this generation's of Cordell Stewart. And I don't know if that's really what the Steelers need because they're likely going to, finally get the Aaron Rodgers deal done. Who the hell knows? Or trading for Kirk Cousins, which probably makes a little bit more sense. Who knows? Either way, it seems like the Steelers need something. I'm not so sure if Milroe's the guy. I would think more of the Jackson Dart. He is the best quarterback I see that's on the board right now. But what do I know? I'm just a guy talking to you guys. But anyway, I would think that Jalen Milroe can fit in, but they're going to have to adjust his game. He's been too hot, too cold. How about the Chargers at 22? Looking at a possible tight end at Colston Loveland. I'll tell you what, Jim Harbaugh is building one hell of a team in L.A. with those supercharges. And watch out because those guys are going to win 12 games this year. And you never know, they may even represent the AFC. You heard it. They may represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. It could be the AFC title game against Buffalo and the Chargers. You never know, folks. Or it could be a rematch of, 1981? I think it was the Bengals and the Chargers playing in the freezing cold game. Anyway, how about the Packers at 23, looking at McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. The Packers don't do a lot of free agent trading, but you never know. They may make a trade because wide receiver is a little bit thin in this draft. Minnesota, looking for a defensive tackle, might get the big kid out of Ole Miss, Walter Nolan. That may be a good fit. The Houston Texans, a very good squad, underrated, looking at a big protector out of Oregon for their guy. And C.J. Stroud's turning into one hell of a quarterback, so that may be a good fit. The Rams may be looking at a corner, Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. That may be a good pick, and he's a lot better than what his numbers show. And so the Rams may get a steal out of Trey Amos that nobody really knows about, but everyone knows about. Ravens, 27, offensive guard, Donovan Jackson, a pretty good pick there. Detroit, Shamar Stewart, a defensive end out of Texas A&M, a solid pick. Washington, maybe looking at Starks, the safety, which I think they need out of Georgia. That could be a good pick. Buffalo, Siobhan Ravel Jr., a corner out of East Carolina. Excellent fit for the Bills. Kansas City, looking for an offensive tackle. Maybe that Josh Simmons guy out of Ohio State. Maybe a good pick there. Not really sure, but you're starting to get a little bit thin on offensive tackles. They should wait to the second round for that. And the Eagles, of course, maybe looking for a defensive end. Maybe some kid out of BC or somewhere else. Not really sure where that one's going. But then again, just like the City Connect jerseys in basketball, not sure, or in baseball, not sure where they're going either. That's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.